Because I heard it like Jesus' blood is powerful enough to cover the whole world. Everybody sins, but not everybody will turn to the Lord.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Legacy. It is the first show ever. What's going on, son?
How you doing, Pops?
I'm good. You ready to start the show?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Well, welcome to a Legacy featuring me, Tony Massey, and my son,
Jordan Massey. How are y'all doing today?
This is the brainchild of Jordan and I. We have these epic conversations where we talk about life, we talk about manhood, we talk about just living. And we thought to ourselves, people need to see this. We need to share these conversations with the world. So Legacy was born from there. And the idea is you're gonna be a voyeur between witnessing a conversation between me and my son. So a little perspective here. I'm 44, and Jordan, you're
23.
23. So there's a couple of years between us, right? And I never really wanted this to be an advice thing because Jordan doesn't take my advice anyway. I really wanted this to be just an opportunity for you to see son and father react and interact, and one of the biggest things that I wanted to combat is this idea that fathers, especially Black fathers, aren't imparting wisdom or at least spending time with their sons. And that's just not true. And the reality is that the advice that I give is mostly just my experiences. It's me getting back up from falling down and then telling my son, don't do what I did. So today's episode is called Chasing Passion, Finding Purpose. And so what I really want to dive into is the idea of how do you chase after your passions? And in doing so, how do you define what your purpose is in life? What do you think about that, son?
Oh, man, I feel like in my short 23 years living, this is something we've always been talking about. And it's been a lifelong journey, finding my passion and pursuing my purpose. And it's not a light thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's an important thing because I can't remember who said it, but there's this great quote. There's the two most important days in a man's life is when the day he's born and then the day he figures out why, or he finds out why he was born. And to me, that's what purpose is all about. In my mind, purpose is all about figuring out the why. Why was I put on this earth at this time in this space? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? And I think that a lot of times we complicate that so much because we want to tie it to this grand, huge thing. When the reality is that all of us are put on this earth for a purpose, but we also have purpose, as it relates to what it is that we're trying to accomplish in the time that we're given on this earth. So in talking about finding passion, chasing purpose, let's start with passion first. How would you define passion?
Man, I guess when I think about passion, I think about something that makes you, really just um, something that you can speak through. And I think about, artists or a musician. That was my passion growing up, and it still is in some regards today, where it was a vehicle that I can express myself. And there was a lot I had to say, even as a young person. So music is how I kind of, talked and vocalized who I was. And
Yeah.
so I guess I attribute my passion to the energy, the time, the thought that I spent in my craft.
Okay. So for me, I've always, and I don't want this to be a closed conversation. If you're listening and you're watching right now, either on YouTube or on Facebook, feel free to come in the comments and add to the conversation. Although I'm going to be talking, Jordan and I are going to be talking to each other. We definitely want to bring you into the conversation as well, because we believe that information should be shared and shared by all. I believe that every single person has something to add to the conversation. And so we want to share our platform with you right now, so that if you have an idea, you want to throw it in there, and we can see the comments from all of the different platforms. So for me, I define passion as that thing that you're good at, talent, right? To me, you're going to do that thing you're passionate about without any, no one has to wake you up to do it. No one has to drag you out of bed to do it. No one has to force you to do it. And although you can hone that skill and you can develop that skill or that talent, to me, your passion is directly tied to that thing that you do really well and that no one has to push you to do. So for you, I can remember, when we lived together in Houston in the loft, I mean, you'd be up until 2-3 o'clock in the morning making music, right?
Yeah.
And then you would turn around and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And, you'd be working on these videos and I'd go to bed and you're at your computer tinkling with your music stuff. And then I wake up in the morning, you're still there. You literally fall asleep at your desk, and I'm like, son, get up. You gotta go.
I never even left the studio. I was in
yeah,
that room.
yeah, absolutely. And so to me, that's your passion, right? Those things that come naturally to you, those things that you don't have to be pushed to do, those things that you would do even if you didn't get paid for it. Now, obviously, we live in the real world. We live in a world where things cost money, right?
Right.
And so we can't just do our passions and eat, satisfaction, or the love of our passions. We actually have to go out there and get paid. Right. And to me, sometimes that's when passion can switch over to purpose, or at least you can use passions to define purpose.
Yeah.
So I really think they go hand in hand in some ways, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So in defining your purpose, right? And this is one of those things where I think it's an ongoing thing. I think sometimes purpose gets defined for you, and then sometimes you find purpose along the way. But I do think that regardless of how you discover purpose, passion is tied to it. And two, purpose is also tied to other people. Right. I don't believe that anybody's purpose is an isolated thing. I don't think that anything that you're doing that is going to be fulfilling in your purpose is only going to serve you, is only going to be monetized for you, or is only going to bring you satisfaction or joy. I think true purpose is how we connect to one another. What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think of a lot of the I guess highlights when I was doing something, like as far as music is concerned. It wasn't until like I met certain people that I was elevated to a different position, or a position with more exposure to learn and to kind of gather in some more things. I mean, I think it does, it starts with you, but then you obviously branch out, like you said, and then you start meeting people. It's those conversations with other people, like about your craft, who share similar crafts. And you're just like, an outsider's hearing y'all's conversation. They're like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah.
But you and that person, you're you're just going in and out about the in and outs of whatever it is that y'all do.
Absolutely. And I think that's important. What you just said is because, I think that talking about your passions and your purpose does, and sharing it, a lot of times the piece that we're missing in defining what our passions and what our purpose is with someone else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you're sitting here trying to, I imagine it like you're trying to put together this puzzle and someone's standing over there with that last piece, but yet you want to do it all by yourself. And you're scared to share. You're scared for people to see or you don't want people to see the final product until it's done because you want to perfect it first.
Right.
But then that one person is standing there with the final piece to the puzzle, and because you don't want to share it because you're not, it's not your masterpiece yet. It's not your opus yet, right? Your magnum opus yet. You're missing that one piece, and you will forever miss that one piece because you're too afraid to share what that passion and that purpose is, right? Definitely. So we have a couple of comments. Charles Green wants to know, how do you balance your passion and your relationship? That's a great point. Now, you being a newly married man, I'm sure you have some wisdom on this, Jordan.
Is he referring to relationship? Like relationship between who?
I think he's talking about. Let's assume that he's talking about relationship between maybe your romantic relationship. And if Charles, if that's not what you're talking about, please by all means clear it up for me.
Okay, so I guess with spouse, so when I met my wife for the first time, we weren't really I didn't see her like in that way. But she always did know what I kind of, revolved around. I like music, I guess you could tell, when you met me, like as soon as we already started talking, I would tell her, hey, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go speak at a youth night at a church, or I'm working on this video. I made promotional videos and I included her in it. I interviewed her, and so she already had an idea of what I was interested in and what I was passionate about before we even started courting or going to that marriage. So now, being married, she already knows what the game is, and anything it's easier for her to step into a supportive role because she already knows what I'm doing and where I'm heading to. And so, and
I think it's also important, especially for people in marriage relationships, that you don't allow your passion to overstep your responsibilities as a spouse, as a husband or as a wife. And I don't mean domestic and, paying bills and cleaning the house and all that stuff. I'm not talking about that. I mean that I think one of the easiest times in life to chase after your passions and your purpose is when you're single, because all your time belongs to you. But once you get married, that time is now shared, right? It's not all about you anymore. And if you have children, then that's even less time. That's even less time that you have to pursue purpose and chase your passions and whatnot. And so you have to find that balance, right? Because you can do something really big. I mean, you can walk right into your purpose in the most incredible way, but if your commitments aren't kept, then where's the joy that comes with fulfilling your purpose or enjoying your passion, especially if you had to leave behind the person that was, like you said, that number one, that person who's in that supportive role from the very beginning. But it's a balance. Yeah. And I think on the other side of that, as someone who is with someone who's pursuing passion, I think we also have to give that person space to do that. We have to give them the space to say, hey, right now, I need time to work on this, right? I need time to develop this. And so I'm not demanding of that time, or I'm taking care of other responsibilities, providing resources so that I can be that helpmeet that I think that we were all designed to be, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Natasha says passion brings you joy, excitement. I agree with that 100%. Now, that doesn't mean that passion can't be frustrating.
Oh, say that. That's a good point.
Yeah, passion can be frustrating, especially if things don't work out the way you want them to, right? Yeah. I think sometimes that the things that we're most passionate about, we put so much into it. We're so emotionally invested in that passion that sometimes it becomes very frustrating. It becomes that thing that you have that love-hate relationship with, you know what I mean? Especially if you don't feel like you can perfect it the way you want to perfect it. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about defining passion and purpose. And so I put together some questions that I think are important, and I want to talk about them with you. How do you define your purpose? How do you determine what am I here for? What is the point of me being here? And I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want? Now, that's only four words rather. But I think it's one of the most difficult questions that anyone can ask themselves. What do you want? Have you ever asked yourself this question? I asked that because I already know the answer.
I just want to say, every time, because we would have these conversations like in the garage or the patio or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I remember the conversation would always get to this point where you would ask me, Jordan, you got to find out, what do you want?
Yeah.
And it was the most frustrating, and because I knew that's exactly where it led down to. But I was struggling with that question. And at one point and when you think that you know what you want and something happens, or life happens, and you have to ask yourself again. And I feel like whenever I ask myself, what do I want? Life and circumstances helps me. I would say that helps me kind of whittle down and kind of better articulate what it is that I want.
Right.
Which is something crazy that I'm learning, more and more, being married is, what I wanted 2, 3, 4 years ago is a lot different than what I want now.
Man, say that.
Shoot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and it's a question I think we have to ask ourselves over and over again.
Yeah.
Because I think what goes along with what do you want is, why am I doing this?
Ooh.
Right? What is the end result? What am I getting out of this? And I think if we take say again,
can I say something on that?
Please, by all means.
And this ain't no testimony service, but
speak on it, brother.
Because when I was, and you remember when I was working at the studio, I was working at a music studio downtown, and spent hours and hours doing music and perfecting my craft and learning, and I'm growing. And what I realized at the studio was my goal to being a musician was ultimately like fame and being the best, number one, where at one point it was, I just like making sounds. I like coming up with, things that I hear in my head and putting it on, the computer. And at a certain point, I started idolizing these producers, these musicians, to the point where it was no longer about music. It was more about me and making sure I was the top, the best, the number one, And so I noticed that when I started going back to doing music, that passion was so, it was like a short spark, because then I was like, well, this is not good enough to be that idol, that I have in my mind, and so like you said earlier, you're looking at this masterpiece. I can't share it with nobody because it's not perfected yet,
right.
And little did I know that, and the Lord really revealed it to me at that studio was process. There is a process, but also he readjusted my whole frame of why I want what I want, and even during service today, that was one thing Pastor Russell, he talked about. He was like, what does it gain for the man to gain the whole world? What does it profit for the man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, my reasons for doing what I'm doing are off. They're off.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into the second question. What is your why? Because figuring out what you want may not necessarily tie directly to your purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe figuring out the why. After here's what I want, and here's why I want it. Right. Because I really believe that, and I've always believed this, and I'm always going to believe this, that that saying, "Too much is given, much is required."
Yeah.
I think that's really about not just the responsibility that's around being given much, but also the requirements of giving itself increases. Because the more you have, the more you have to give, right? And in my mind, if your blessings are so that you can be a blessing, then you can be trusted with blessings. I mean, imagine, you need $5, right? That's all you need. And you're blessed with 10. Then it only makes sense if all I need is 5, then I meet my needs, and then I use the other 5 as a means to bless someone else.
Right.
But so many of us get the 10 and count the extra 5 as an extra blessing, right? And so, why do you need the 5? You go back to that. Why do you need the 5? Well, I need the 5 to pay my bills. Okay, then if you have the 5, then the extra that you have left over, what are you going to do with it? What's going to be, how are you going to tie purpose to this money too? Right. And so what ends up happening is we hoard those blessings. We don't share the blessings, or worse, someone comes along and says, I need 5. Okay, I'll give you 5, but you got to give me 6 back. Okay. No, nobody told you, you had to give 6 back, or whatever the case may be. So why are we charging for blessings? You know what I mean? Why are we trying to make something on the back end? We should give as freely as we expect to receive. Right. Otherwise, what's going to end up happening is next time we need 5, we're going to get 4. Right. And it's because I can't trust you to be a blessing to other people. I can't bless you so that I can bless someone else. Yeah. Because if I bless you, that's where the blessing stops. You're a wall. Yeah. You're not a fountain. Right. You're a hindrance to blessing, not a vessel in which blessings can flow. And so asking what is your why is really important. Why are you doing this? Is it fame? Is it notoriety? But then the why changes, because there was a time where I wanted this for this reason. Well, now life has happened, or I made decisions, and now I'm being put in a different situation. And so my why has changed, and as a result, that kind of modifies my purpose. Right. Yeah. I think about purpose in that I think we're born with purpose. I really believe that. I believe that as soon as we take our first breath, our purpose has already been predetermined, predefined. Right. But I also think our purpose can be impacted by our decision making. What do you think about that? Ooh. So the idea is, I put you on this earth for this purpose. Right. But because of the decisions you've made, your purpose remains the same, but the journey to that purpose is going to be a little more arduous, because instead of, doing the right thing and walking towards your blessing, or, receiving your blessing, you've made decisions along the way that's pulled you away from that. And so although your purpose hasn't changed, the manner in which that purpose is manifested has changed. Yeah. Yeah.
I instantly thought of King David. His purpose was to succeed King Saul. Yeah. And as a result of, as he gets the kingdom and he becomes king, we find out later that, he commits adultery with one of his top soldiers. Yeah. And it's the infamous downfall of King David. But because he made a promise to him, the kingdom fell under his son. Yep. And so although his purpose, was always, he remained king, but, I could only imagine what would have happened, if not he messed up like he did, but the purpose still remained. and I guess that points to so many things.
Well, I think of Adam. Adam was given divine purpose at the very beginning.
Right.
You're gonna name everything. You're gonna be in charge of everything. You have dominion over everything. You good. You ain't got to do nothing, man. Your purpose is directly tied to the fact that you're in charge. I'm leaving you in charge of the whole thing. All of creation belongs to you.
Man.
And then he disobeyed God. And so then the purpose changed. You still have dominion.
Right.
Now you're gonna work the ground.
Sweaty
you're gonna sweat.
Right.
And I think sometimes, and I think what I take from that is sometimes in being disobedient, or even trying to do everything on your own without seeking help. That's not always the best way to do things. Like I hear people all the time say, I did this by myself. I do all the artwork. I do all this. I do that. I do this. And that's great.
Okay, yeah.
But one, are you good at all of those things? Or should you just stay in your lane and outsource all those other things? Because while you're looking for your blessing, your opportunity, your chance to come up, there's a graphic designer out there. There's a musician out there. There's a videographer out there. There's somebody out there who's also waiting for the same thing.
Right.
And so your passion and purpose is directly tied to theirs. You bring them along and say, okay, I want to focus on this area because this is my area of expertise. I want you to do my logo.
Right.
I want you to film everything. I want you to do the editing. I want you to do whatever. And now you're both working in passion and pursuing purpose. And I think that's what it's all about. So doing it all by yourself and not seeking help sometimes I think it's being disobedient.
Yeah.
I think it's pushing you further away from what you want. So let's look at some of these comments. We got some more. Tasha says, that's a really good question. I think what the first question is what she was saying. What do you want? And she said, that's a really good question. Even though I had it all figured out, that wouldn't be my purpose. And that's true. I mean, you can have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Realize that ain't it.
Yeah.
That ain't it. I thought it was it, but that ain't it.
And what do you do when you get to that point?
Exactly.
You keep on walking.
Yeah. We got someone we both know watching the show, Anjeen. She says, your why is a powerful tool and helps to give clarity to your purpose. Absolutely. She goes on to say, why is not a surface question. You have to keep asking why until you get uncomfortable. Yes. The answer to your why is bigger than anything you can accomplish on your own. A higher power is required. I agree with this 100%. And this is something that we do even in my in work. When we're trying to figure out what happened, we keep asking these questions and until she said, you get uncomfortable or there's no more answer. Why are you doing this? Why? Because I want this. Why? So that I can do this. Why? Because I love this. Why? And so you just drill down until you get to that place where you figure out, oh, okay, now I get it. This is what drives me, passion, towards what I really want, purpose. Right?
Yeah.
So what happens if you never figure it out? Do you think there are people out there who never figure out what their purpose is?
I don't know about never figure it out, but I would say never take the chance to walk towards it. And I think we are given like a kind of like a blurry picture, what it is that we're called to do. And the closer we get, the more clear it gets. Just walking by faith continuously.
Yeah.
And, although I see a very blurry picture, the closer I get, I don't understand the process, I just keep on moving, but the clearer that gets, I think of that poem. I think it's a hope deferred or a dream deferred.
Yeah, a dream deferred.
A dream deferred. I mean, that's scary, not moving on what what you're called to do and not moving on that.
Yeah.
I definitely know that keeps me up at nights sometimes.
As it should. And I think, going back to that first question, what do you want? I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is when we ask that question through the lens of our own capabilities, which I think is a mistake. So you say, instead of saying, what do you want? We ask, what do I believe I deserve? Or we ask, what do I believe I can bring to fruition? What is it? What is within my privy to have? What is within my capabilities to receive?
Yeah.
And so this is where I challenge people who claim to be Christians, and I'm not attacking anyone because I'm one, but a lot of people can quote the Bible, but then they don't apply those words to their lives.
Oof.
I mean, I've heard people say, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me.
Except
so
that.
What do you want? Well, I can't do all that. What do you mean you can't do What is it? All things, right?
Yeah.
I can do all the things that I know how to do through I can do all the things that I can conceive of. And that's why I always laugh when people say, if I was a millionaire, I would do this. You have no idea what you would do if you were a millionaire, because now doors are going to be open to you that you didn't know existed before you were in that position. So you can't say what you would. If that was me, this is what I would do. Well, it's not you. It's not you. And since you're not in that position, you can't say what you would do. So I can do all things. Well, if that's the case, dream bigger. I've always told you,
that's good.
If your dreams make sense, if you tell someone your dreams and they say, well, I can see you doing that, then you're not dreaming big enough. Dream bigger. Dream bigger. Your dreams should confound the wise, right? You should be telling people, I'm going to XYZ, and they go, you can't do that. Boom, you're there. Wow. That's where you want to be. That's the sweet spot.
Wow.
I can't see you doing that. That's a lot, man. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you? No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's when you're in the sweet spot, in my opinion. Because now that dream has to be attached to something bigger than you. Right? Now you have to humble yourself. You have to lean not on your own understanding. Because I've always, we've discussed this. The how is not your concern. If you haven't figured out the what, then why are you worried about the how?
Right. Right.
Yeah. How am I going to do this? Do what? Well, I don't know. I don't know what. But then how do you know you can't? Right? You got to dream big, Yeah.
Yeah. And what came to mind, Tony Evans has a great quote. And he says, if all you can see is what is to be seen, you're not seeing all that there is to be seen.
I love that.
And he's referring to, as a Christian, there's a power outside of ourselves, and that comes from God. And knowing that he's invisible, we don't see him.
Right.
And so, a lot of times he talks about tapping into the supernatural, bringing heaven down to earth.
Yeah.
That requires faith, and like you said, we won't understand how, but if we know who, and we've established the what, then faith is the vehicle that gets us there.
Exactly. And that's such an important concept, because faith is beyond understanding. Faith is beyond comprehension. Faith is beyond your five senses.
Right.
You have no empirical evidence, but yet you still believe.
Wow.
And I think that if you can tap into that type of faith, that the I know type of faith, then what is impossible? Right?
Yeah.
And since we know that your provisions will meet you along the way, all you have to do is go towards it. Take that first step. I believe that in my heart of hearts. While you're sitting there figuring out, how am I going to do this? You could have already been on the way. And the how is going to meet you halfway.
Yeah.
Because that how is going to reveal how you got to this part, right? So your dream is 1,000 feet high, but you don't know how you're going to get to 1,000 feet. Don't worry about it. Get to 2 feet. By the time you get to 10 feet, the how is going to present itself and say, okay, I'm going to show you how to get to 100. Cool. Yeah. Now I'm at 100 feet. Well, how am I going to do the other 900? The same way you did the 2 feet. You just move in that direction, and that how is going to meet you along the way. And one day you'll figure out, you'll get to that place where you want it to be. But here's the beauty of that. Once you've ascended to 1,000 feet and you look at the view at 1,000 feet, man, I can't believe I did this. Then what happens, Jordan?
You realize that it wasn't you that got you there.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
Yeah. You know, well, 2 things. First of all, how do you eat a whole elephant?
One bite at a time. That's it. Yeah.
And it reminds me of a story when a summer I spent at an urban Christian camp, and I remember there was a zip line, and you know, there was
love this story. I love this story. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was a spiral staircase that went all the way to the top of the platform. And of course, they get you in the harness. Well, you start in the harness and the helmet. They get you all locked in, and then you just go down. I remember sitting on the ground level talking to some of the kids I was mentoring. And one kid, I remember just looking at it, and all the other kids like, you gonna go up? You gonna go up? And it's like, no. You know, and playing along, I was like, well, why not? He's like, man, I'm afraid of heights, you know, and you know, fear just overshadowed his face and whatnot. Man. I was like, well, at least do this. Put the harness on and the helmet.
Right.
It's like, Jordan, what you talking about? I'm not gonna go up. I'm not gonna go up. It's like, just put the harness on and just put the helmet.
Yeah. And
there you go. Step 1. He's got the harness on and the helmet further than he's ever gone before.
That's it.
And check this out. From not even wanting to go up on the zip lines, and now has the equipment to do this action.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to go up 2 steps. And he's like, you want me to just go up the staircase? And I'm like, just go up 2 steps.
Yep.
And we literally took this staircase step by step. I mean, he at certain points he was just crying. You know, his feet look like spaghetti noodles. They're just wobbling. You know, and I realized and also during this kind of going up, a lot of the times we just had to stop, and I had to talk to him, and I had to just show him, you know, look at how far you've already come.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so we would get him, you know, I'd get him motivated. Some steps, they're like, don't. Yep. Other steps, it's like trying to get just 1 step, to the point where we get up on the top of the zip line. And this is the funniest part. They have kind of people up top to kind of help navigate you and get you strapped up. So the lady who was working the zip line, of course, her name was Grace. And I was like, what, you know, so here, you know, Grace is going to help you. And I just started laughing because I just couldn't, you know, the Lord was showing me so much about what it means to just walk by faith, you know, about, you know, walking with him in my life. I was showing him how to get up, but the Lord was showing me that this is going to be you. You know, there's going to be some days where you're just going to be motivated. You're going to be on fire for me. You're going to be walking by faith. Other days, it's going to be so painful just to take 1 step. And the thing is, it's a long process, but grace meets you at the top, you know, and grace meets you at the bottom. You know, grace meets you through and through. And I will never forget that story, because I probably learned more than he did. I learned so much just from that process of walking by faith.
And I love that. I want to get to some of these comments, but I love what you just said, because one of the things I think is most important about that story, besides the journey that kid had, was one, he had someone there who believed in him, who was willing to take the steps with him. Because there were 2 people that climbed that staircase, right? Yeah. It wasn't just you. Yeah. And so we need people in our lives to support us through our journey. Right. And those people have to be cognizant of the fact that, they have to be patient and cognizant of the fact that I'm scared to do this. I'm
Yeah.
afraid. And so you could have taken a different approach. What do you mean you're afraid? Come on, you could do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or I'll take these steps with you. And when you're ready to take the next step, we'll take it.
Yeah.
But what you illustrated, I think, which is also important, is as we teach, we learn.
Whew.
And if you really want to get to, because like, again, 2 people made that journey. So both of you made it to the top.
Yeah.
And both of you got something out of it. 1, he realized I can do this. And 2, you also got the lesson that, you know what? My staircase is a lot different than his.
Yep.
But I can use the same principles to ascend to the place that I want to be. So let's get to some of these comments. Charles said, I believe a lot of people are afraid to go after their passion. I believe that too, man. I believe that fear stops a lot of people from going to the next level, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Jean said, that's good. I'm not sure what she was talking about, but I'm sure it's something that we were talking about. Probably something.
It's all good.
It's all good. My boy Derek Jones, shout out Derek Jones. That is like my mentor in this whole thing. He definitely has helped me get to this place where I can make this look very professional and all that good stuff. So shout out Derek Jones. He said, that's how my brand was born. Folks said it couldn't be done. I'm telling you, tell me what I can't do and I'll show you what I can. You know what I mean? And I think it's so important that we recognize at the bottom of the staircase, that staircase you were talking about, we go from how am I going to do this? And then celebrate when we look back and say, how did I do that? You know what I mean? Let's see. Saya says, this is my beautiful wife listening to. She says, what role do parents play? Are young people more or less likely to feel confident to go after passions depending on the kind of support they get from parents? I'll let you take this one, Jordan. What do you think?
Okay. That you always supported and whatever I was doing. It was, it started off soccer, then it went from basketball, and then it went to band, then it went to drumline, then it went to producing. There's been a lot. But
you've had some expensive passions.
Right. And then
you have a cheap passion.
Right. But whatever it was, you always you were there to tell me that why not you? And it was assuring because it was kind of almost like a superpower, like whatever it is that I want to do, why not me?
Yeah.
And you've always told me, I might not know how to do it, but I will find out how to do it. And I think it's just, if anything, it's just reassuring that, why can't it be you to chase your passions, but also to help equip your children, like you equipped me, through everything, whatever it was, whatever, I wanted to do. I remember that short, quaint season of basketball. You bought me some purple Kobe shoes.
Yeah.
And you had me thinking like I was the all-star player. And that really did something to my mindset, because I would be up early in the morning going to the court just to work on free throws.
I remember.
If I'm gonna be great, then it's gonna have to start with fundamentals. I missed a few years. I'm starting late, but so I think you just instilling in me, why not me, gave me the motivation to go out and do what's necessary to get to that point.
Yeah. And I as from a parent's perspective, I never wanted you to believe that, one, you couldn't do something. And 2, I never wanted you to think that your inability to do something was tied to a lack of resources. And so your mother and I that definitely wasn't just on me. I have to give her props, because talk about being supportive. Even when I'll be honest, even in the times where I was like, look, he needs to give up. She was like, no, we can't do that. Like, I'm tired of giving up my Saturdays. but I think it's important that, you give your children not just the push, but you also give them the tools to be successful as well. And you also have to be patient enough to realize that although they may be pursuing this passionately, this may not be their passion.
Yeah.
And I think that for a parent is really hard because it is expensive, not just financially, but it's time, getting up in the morning and going to those tournaments. And, again, it's a whole Saturday gone. And but you never want your kid to feel like I can't do this.
Wow.
Or that I'm not good enough for this. Right.
Yeah.
The hard part is seeing how good your kid is at something. And then you become more passionate than they do.
Yeah.
So like for me, it was soccer. For you, like I really wasn't a big fan of soccer. I never played soccer, never had a desire to play soccer. But man, you were so good until you got to a point where like you were the best kid on the team until the competition got better. And then you were still just as good, but you are now around kids who are just as good as you. Right. And I just wanted you to pursue that, man. Same thing with music. I was like, man, do you remember when you came home and told me that you were no longer going to play the horn and now you were going to be a drummer?
Man.
Do you remember my reaction?
Yes. I remember because I remember going out and getting the trumpet in Oceanside.
Yeah.
And we went to this little music store. I think it was right by the bookstore, but I remember that being a very important moment because I could see your passion, and just music and jazz. And, we always talk about jazz. I still love jazz.
I just knew I had given birth to the next Miles
Davis. Right.
You were going to single-handedly bring jazz back. I had my speech already, man. I was excited. I couldn't wait to be interviewed by, how did you bring jazz back through your son? Well,
So I remember in high school watching when I went to the freshman orientation and watching the drumline perform, I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Until I was like, oh, I'm going to tell my dad that I don't want to play the horn no more.
Man.
But I had to realize, like this is what I'm passionate about. And, I remember even telling you, I didn't even make snare or anything close to a drum.
You played the triangle.
I was auxiliary.
You were the triangle kid.
You're right.
Like, no, my kid ain't the triangle kid.
And I knew enough that I might not be where I want to be right away, but as long as I continue to go on this track, eventually I'll get there. And so I remember freshman year, triangle, sophomore year, bass drum.
Yep.
And then finally, after years and days and hours, and God bless my mom because she had to endure, hours of me banging on my drum pad, to the point where junior year, I finally made snare drum. And you wrote to me, like, I didn't understand it. I thought you were giving up your musical talent and, giving up my dream.
My dream.
But, right. Your dream.
My purpose.
Right. You're like, I see it,
Yeah. No, I think that as a parent, that's the thing you have to do. You got to give your kids the space to figure it out on their own. And had you even if you didn't make snare drum or whatever the case may be, which I was very proud of you, I was proud of how, and this is one thing I can say about you, is that once it gets into your head, that's it. It's a wrap. Once you've decided this is what I'm going to do, then there is nothing that's going to talk you down from that. And I felt like that was enough to carry you through life, because I think that going back to what Charles said, there's so many people who are afraid to go after their passion and purpose. And that's one thing I can never say about you. You don't have that fear going after it. Fear doesn't set in until you have to start sharing it.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't feel equipped, right?
Yeah.
If you don't feel like, if you don't feel like you're number one, then that's when I start to notice you start to back down and go from there. So there's a couple more comments are rolling in.
Well.
Oh, my mom. There you go. All right. We got a full-on family coming in here. Now I want to see the view from 10,000 feet. Yes, that's what I was asking. So if you make it all the way up to 1,000 feet, then what? Now I want to see what it looks like at 10,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think that's how goal building works, right? Once you achieve a goal, make a goal. And that's how you keep moving forward. That's how you remain in your passion and remain in your purpose. Because what we consider the apex right now is from a vantage point that we're at right now. Oof. But then once you get to that place that you thought was the top, what you realize is it's the bottom of the next level, right? And so you just got to keep moving forward.
Right.
One more comment here.
I know
that name. There's your mom. She says it was his drive and discipline. Yes, it was, man. And I'm telling you, and I got to give her credit for this too. Your mom was one of those people where she's not going to take no for an answer. I'm not doing that. That's I'm not going to do that. That's it. We're done. Right.
Right.
But in that, what she gave to you was this drive, this like I said. I mean, getting up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to either work on music, shoot hoops. My neighbors, our neighbors would tell us, "Oh, we knew it was time to get up because Jordan be out there, clang, 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 clang." We could not stop you when you got your head into it and you decided this is the way I'm going to go. Yeah. It was a wrap.
Wow.
And we could either get on board and support
if you be left behind
or get left behind. It was our choice, right? But it was so much fun watching, like even when you played soccer as a little kid, man. I have this great photo that I forgot to give to you, and I need to. It's your mom is cheering on the sideline and you are on the field. And I was able to capture this photo of you in an action shot where you got the ball and your mom's on the sideline. She's like yelling, "Go Jordan!"
So intense,
man. And that was the thing. The intensity was matched.
Yeah.
And the same intensity and discipline and focus that you had on moving that ball up and down the field, she had that same intensity and drive in supporting you, man. Right? Yeah. And I think that doing that as a parent, you got to match your kid's passion.
Yeah.
Or you got to show enough passion for your kid to match when it comes to your kid, right? But it doesn't matter if they're successful or not. That is besides the point. It does not matter if you win or lose. You got to give all you got. That's what it's all about, in my opinion. And I think going back to what Saya wanted asked about the role that parents play, I think your role is support. Constantly reminding them that there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing that you can't dream for. Yet you can be whatever you want to be. And I'm so grateful for those people who achieve goals because they make it easier to push that narrative. So for instance, whether you support her or not, Kamala Harris becoming the next vice president, now it's easier for the fathers and the parents of daughters, especially daughters of color. It's easier for them to say, yes, you can, be the president. You can be the vice. You can do anything you want. Yeah. And so having those people, those forerunners, those outliers, right? Those people, because here's what I know about people. First, they imitate and then they emulate. I want to be like you first. I want to, be you second. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So let's sum this up, man. We're coming up on an hour. I think this was a pretty good show for our first show. What do you think?
I was so excited today. I was like, man, talking to my dad, I'm up talking to my church members, man, yes, this is what we did, for years.
Yeah.
So I was definitely looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to just going into other, topics and conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, we got a lot to talk about. I think that this stage of your life, I think that having what I love about our connection is you keep me young while I get an opportunity to get to prepare you for where I am.
Mm,
So I don't have to look backwards because I'm connected to my past through you.
mm,
And you don't have to wonder about the future because I can at least give you tips. But here's the thing, and this is the reality that I have to accept. You are going to one day eclipse me. And
mm.
that's my goal. My goal, I remember when you started taking calculus in math in high school. And I've never gone
No,
past
no, 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 no. I'm not gonna lie. It was college.
college, whatever it was. It didn't matter.
I'm not that good.
I never took anything past geometry. So once I hit shapes, I was like, all right, I'm good. I don't want to do this no more. But what was cool about that whole thing was you were doing something that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of that because I felt like, okay, now you're moving to the next level. And as a father, my greatest desire is for you to one day eclipse me and be twice the man that I ever dreamed of being.
Mm.
And so one of the things that I have, one of my responsibilities as your father is to keep this connection and keep growing myself because I can't make it easy for you. Like, your grandmother always says, or actually your grandmother made it hard for everybody. I mean, she went on to get a master's degree and all this other stuff. But something that our Uncle Carl always says is the least you can do is be a sheet metal worker, which is what he is. Yeah. That's the least you can do. Yeah. And so as we set the bar for every generation, that's how we build this legacy. So I'm counting on you to raise the bar even higher so that the least my grandson one day, whenever that happens.
Did we break
anyway,
the interruption?
My grandson has to go even further than me and even further than you. And I think that's how you build a strong legacy, is you constantly are working, you're pulling, but you're also pushing, pushing, and it never stops. One more comment from Aunt Jean. Very positive show. Would love to see more father and son, mothers and daughters join the conversations. I'd be open to that. If there's a mother and daughter out there that likes to come on and give us some wisdom from that side, definitely. Mm. So first show is in the books. We're going to do this every Sunday. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Every Sunday, same time, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm in Atlanta and Jordan's in Houston. So we're going to make sure that we stay on top of this. Please tune in, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow both of us at Jordan Massey Music, at Tony Massey Speaks. You can find me at TonyMasseySpeaks.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Tony Massey Speaks and also at Tony Massey Cooks. I'm also on TikTok. Make sure you follow me on TikTok at Tony Massey Cooks as well. And of course, my YouTube page at Tony Massey Cooks. Where else can we find you at, Jordan?
So you can find me on YouTube at Jordan Massey. And I'm not on Instagram. I don't have a whole lot of social media. I know, crazy. I don't have a TikTok. My dad has a TikTok, but I don't have a TikTok. Crazy. But yeah, follow me on my YouTube. I plan on doing some big things with just capturing stories, and I'm excited for what it's, God exalting, story capturing. That's kind of my motto. So head over there to see some content.
Awesome. So make sure we give Uncle Carl his flowers. He says, I agree, invite mothers and daughters, then aunts. Oh no, okay. Though this is Aunt Tracy and Uncle Carl. I love it. I love it. Okay.
I was about to say, not uncles?
I know, right? So thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate you hanging in there with us and tuning in. Legacy is going to go down every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. If you are just joining, make sure you go back and watch the rest of the show. We appreciate you. I'm Tony Massey.
And I'm Jordan Massey.
And we're out.